Hello peoples and popples, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Fiction&Flora, you can call me Flora, and today we've got a book haul. It's been a while since I've done a book haul. I think I've only ever done like one. I've only ever done one, and that was when I first started my YouTube channel way back in like 2018, maybe 2019. So here we are, we're doing new things. This one's significantly shorter. I've only got 8 books, all of which are less than 300 pages, and all of which are translated. I love translated books. They're my bread and butter. And I'm just so excited to share them with you. I wanted to share these because my last one was just backlogged books that I looked up on the internet, and I was just trying to find some, and as I was trying to get a hold of them to read them, I realized some of them just aren't available in print anymore. Like, I couldn't even find a digital copy of some of those books, but these ones we know for a fact exist. So exciting. If you're hearing any sound in the background, it's probably my fan, because it's hot. We're in the middle of just so much heat everywhere. It's so hot. And you might be asking yourself, if I'm that hot, why am I wearing a cardigan? And I'd like you to look at this fit. Look how well this goes together. Look at the color combinations. Of course I'm wearing the cardigan. Beauty is pain. Enough about me. Let's jump into the books. The first one I got for you is a short story collection. It's called Blood Feast by Malika Mustadraf, and it is translated by Alice Guthrie. And the cover is designed by is this a joke? There is no cover artist. I can't find one, so if you know, let me know. But I think this one's very cool, very ominous. Let me tell you what it's about. So, summary reads as follows. A feminist icon in contemporary Moroccan literature, Malika Mustadraf is celebrated for her stark interrogation of gender and sexuality in North Africa. Blood Feast is the complete collection of Mustadraf's published short fiction, haunting, visceral stories by a master of the genre. A teenage girl suffers through a dystopian rite of passage. A man with kidney disease makes desperate attempts to secure treatment, and a mother schemes to ensure her daughter passes a virginity test. Delighting in vibrant sensory detail and rich slang, Mustadraf takes an unflinching look at the gendered body, social class, illness, double standards, and desire as lived by a diverse cast of characters. Blood Feast is a sharp provocation to patriarchal power and celebration of life and genius of Morocco's preeminent writers. So I'm very excited about this. I'm planning to do a short story vlog in September, and that's when I'm planning to pick this one up. And this one seems like it's going to be really good, though it is really tiny, so I think when they say short story, they mean short story. This is going to be really good, probably a very quick read, and also like it's going to hurt me in a few different ways. It looks like I'm going to have very strong visceral feelings, especially when it comes to the one concerning a virginity test. Just, I am prepared for the feelings I'm going to get. I am prepared. It'll be good. The next one I have is The Employees by Olga Raven, and the translator of this one is Martin Eichen, and the cover is designed by Joan Wong. I like this cover. I think it's really trippy, and it really creates interest. As you know, I'm a very big cover buyer. I love my covers. They are one of those things that just I feel like a cover is really integral to books. Like, I will buy a book whose cover I don't like, but I am more likely to pick up one that's got a good cover. Sorry. I just feel like if you didn't want me to enjoy it, if you didn't want that to be a part of the purchasing process, why do all book covers have different ones? Why don't they all look the same? I didn't mean to get combative. Anyway, for this one, the summary reads as follows. Funny and doom-drenched, The Employees chronicles the fate of the 6,000 ship. The human and humanoid crew members complain about their daily task in a series of staff reports and memos. When the ship takes on a number of strange objects from the planet New Discovery, the crew become strangely and deeply attached to them, even as even as tensions boil towards mutiny, especially among the humanoids. So, first of all, I want to know what the humanoids are. Are they aliens? Are they androids? Are they different evolution of human? I want to know more about that. And I also want to know, what are these objects? Like, they don't tell us exactly what they are. Like, what is it? I'm curious. I'm also curious to find out how this entire story that seems already really interesting and like rich is going to be fully explained in 125 pages. So I'm very excited for this. It's so tiny. This one is ready to get. Next one I have on the list is Jawbone. This is by Monica Ojeda, and the translator is Sarah Booker. And the cover is by... The cover design is by Zoe Norvell, and the book design is by Book Mobile. So, and here is the cover of this one. Very provocative, if I do say so myself. I love the use of color here. The texture of this one kind of sucks, but this cover makes up for that. And here is the summary. When Fernanda, Annalise, and their friends from the Delta Bilingual Academy convene after school, Annalise leads them in thrilling but increasingly dangerous rituals to a rhinestoned, Dior-scented drag queen god of her own invention. Even more perilous is the secret Annalise and Fernanda share, rooted in a dare in which violence meets love. Meanwhile, their literature teacher, Miss Clara, who is obsessed with imitating her dead mother, struggles to preserve her deteriorating sanity. Each day, she edges nearer to a total break with reality. Interweaving pop culture references and horror concepts drawn from Herman Melville, H.P. Lovecraft, and anonymous creepypastas, Jawbone is an ominous, multivocal novel that explores the terror inherent in the pure potentiality of adolescence and the fine line between desire and fear. This feels like it's gonna be a weird one. I'm not gonna lie, it feels like it's gonna be a weird one. Like, we've got a girl who has created a god, and I want to know, is this god going to become real through, you know, the power of belief, or is it always going to be something that is fake? I want to know, like, what is the relationship between these girls? How is it going to evolve? How is their relationship with their other friends? What's going on with their teacher? Honestly, this synopsis makes me ask questions, which I love, and I really want to read the book so I can answer them. The next one I have for you is When I Sing Mountains Dance by Irene Sola, and the translator of this one is Mara Faye Letham. And the cover design is by Carlos Esparza, and the cover art is from a private collection. Here's this one. This one gives me like prehistoric vibes. So if you've ever seen like pictures in textbooks that have like prehistory flora, this is what that reminds me of. Very much I am expecting dinosaurs to walk out of this. Let's find out what the synopsis is. High in the Pyrenees, storm clouds swell. Reckless, gleeful, and unbearably full, they release their bolts of lightning, striking a farmer named Dominic. He dies with poems on his lips and black chanterelles gathered in his shirt. The ghost of 17th century witches come across his body and claim his chanterelles before going on their merry way. So begins the giddy paean to the land that is concerned with the mushrooms and the mountains as it is with human dramas that unfold in their midst. In When I Sing Mountains Dance, Irene Sola finds distinct voices for lightning bolts, roe deer, ghosts of the Spanish Civil War, Dominic's widow Theo, and later their grown children, Hilary and Mia, with their long-buried secrets and hidden pain. In doing so, Sola animates the world around us, the fierce music of the seasons as well as the stories we tell to comprehend loss and love on a personal, historical, and even geological scale. Elemental and mythic in her concerns, Sola is a fearlessly imaginative writer. So, first of all, I want to know about these witches, right? Like, what is with these 17th century witches? I do like how it is telling the story of his family after after Dominic has passed. Though I am not the biggest fan of multi-generational stories. However, because it is happening within the same family and in a short amount of generational change, I'm hoping it'll be pretty good. And also, as someone who is an animist, I do love reading stories where writers give the elements their own voice. I like to see what other people think they sound like, what their voices are, especially when it has different cultural contexts. So, very excited about this one. Oh no, my tower is falling. My tower. Okay, we'll put the smaller ones. There we go. Okay, we're on to the last four. All of these are translated from Japanese. Next is All the Lovers in the Night by Meiko Kawakami, and it is translated by Sam Bett and David Boyd. The cover image is by David James Grindley, and the art direction is by Emmanuel Ranisco. Look at the cover. It's very basic. It almost reminds me of a, what is it called? Cavern? No. Not a valley. What's the thing with the rocks? A canyon. Goodness gracious. It reminds me a bit of a canyon, like an abstracted canyon, which is very cool. And this is just the publisher here, but it almost, if you pull it back, doesn't it look like a person is standing in the way of a canyon? All I'm saying is I'm really enjoying it. I love this cover. I do own another Meiko Kawakami book. I have not read it yet. It's called Breast and Eggs. I have been planning to read it for a while, and so I think I might just pair these two together when I do read it. But let me tell you what it's about. Friendship does not come easily to Fuyuko Ide. In her 30s, she works as a freelance copy editor and lives alone. Her most frequent interactions are with her manager Hijiri and a woman with a very different disposition whose motives are often unclear. One day, Fuyuko stops in the middle of a Tokyo street, transfixed by her reflection in a storefront window. The woman she sees looking back at her is drab, spiritless, inert. She decides she must take steps to transform her life, but as she sets about doing so, events from her past begin to resurface and her isolation seems increasingly irreversible and complete. All the Lovers in the Night is an open invitation into the unique fictional world of internationally acclaimed and best-selling author Meiko Kawakami. Insightful, often humorous, and wholly captivating, Lovers mines the complexity of human relationships by recounting the story of a woman who has none. It is a book about the world of work and its vicissitudes and its joys, and about the ways in which the past insists on shaping our present. Fuyuko Ide is an unforgettable protagonist whose predicament will feel familiar to so many, and whose story will not only break readers' hearts but remind them that sometimes a broken heart is worth the pain. I had read this summary previously, and the one reason I picked this one up is specifically because it reminded me of two other books that I had read, and that would be The Hole and Strange Weather in Tokyo. The Hole is written by Hiroko Oyamada, who is one of my favorite writers. I've only read two of her books, but they were amazing. And the other one is by Hiromi Kawakami. Strange Weather in Tokyo by Hiromi Kawakami follows a 38-year-old woman who one night at a bar encounters her old high school teacher, and as they continue to like bump into each other over time at this bar, they slowly start to create a relationship and fall in love. And it's just about that relationship as it moves through time, like over the years. For a lot of people, that summary is going to turn you off. You're not really into it, fine. But I think it is beautifully written. I personally really enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing that relationship develop. And the reason it reminded me of this is because the protagonist of that book, when you are first introduced to her, and even throughout different parts of the book, she also seems to have a very disconnected vibe. Like she's not really involved in the society around her. She's just with it. She's just there. So that disconnect really brought me here. And then for The Hole by Hiroko Oyamada, that one follows a woman who moves from the city to the countryside after her husband gets a new job, and she goes from being a full-time worker to a full-time housewife, and she is trying to find her place within that new area. She's trying to find her place within society as a whole. Since her identity has changed with this change in employment and location, she's trying to find her place within the community, within that family, because this is her husband's childhood home. And again, there's that feeling of isolation, that disconnect from society, that trying to find your place, find out who you are, that loss of self. So those two books, I loved both of those, and this, as I was reading the summary, it really popped out to me like that. So really excited to pick this one up. The next one I have is Scattered All Over the Earth by Yoko Tawada, and this is translated by Margaret Mitsutani. And the cover is designed by John Gall. Here is this cover. I love the colors on this. Like, it is gorgeous. And here's the summary. In Scattered All Over the Earth, the mind-expanding, cheerfully dystopian new novel by Yoko Tawada, the world's climate disaster and its attendant refugee crises are viewed through the loving twin lenses of friendship and linguistic ingenuity. Welcome to the not-too-distant future. Japan, having vanished from the face of the earth, is now remembered as the land of sushi. Hiruko, a former citizen and climate refugee, has a job teaching immigrant children in Denmark in her invented language Hanska, Pan-Scandinavian. As she searches for anyone who can still speak her mother tongue, Hiruko soon makes new friends. Her troupe travels to France and Stockholm in a series of mesmerizing scenes, encounters, an umami cooking competition, a dead well, an ultranationalist, Kazuko robots, and much more, each scene more vivid than the last. With its intrepid band of companions, scattered all over the earth, the first novel of a trilogy may bring to mind Alice's Adventures in Wonderland or A Surreal Wind in the Willows, but really it's just another sweet genre Yoko Tawada masterwork. So I'm very excited about this. This gives me vibes, not the same thing, but it does give me the vibes of How High We Go in the Dark. And the whole was also very similar to Alice in Wonderland. So that's what got me here. But also I'm just really curious. She created her own language. Her country is gone, but there is still joy to be found. So I want to know about her joy. I want to join her on this multi-continental travel. I want to know. The next one I have is Woman Running in the Mountains by Yuko Tsushima, and this one is translated by Geraldine Harcourt. The cover is a photograph from Masahisa Fukase in the Seikan ferry boat from the series Ravens, 1976. And the design is by Katie Homans. Here we are. I have to look up this photography collection because I like this photo a lot. It's got a lot of movement to it. Anyway, before I get into my art person phase, let me tell you what this is about. Alone at dawn in the heat of midsummer, a young woman named Takiko Odaka departs on foot for the hospital to give birth to a baby boy. Her pregnancy, the result of a brief affair with a married man, is a source of sorrow and shame to her abusive parents. For Takiko, however, it is a cause for reverie. Her baby, she imagines, will be hers and hers alone, a challenge that she also feels will free her. Takiko's first year as a mother is filled with the intense bodily pleasures and pains that come from caring for a newborn. At first, she seeks refuge in the company of other women, in the hospital, in her son's nursery, but as the baby grows, her life becomes less circumscribed as she explores Tokyo, then ventures beyond the city into the countryside, towards a mountain that captures her imagination and desire for a wilder freedom. So I picked this one up because I would love to just follow her on her journey. It seems like it's going to be a nice, like, reflective, introspective look at this person. I just really want to read this book. I love to read things from the perspective of single mothers. As the child of a single mother, I just love to see how different paths are forged. I love when parents see their children as joys. Obviously, not everyone is going to feel that way, but for me personally, it hits the spot when people are excited about their child. You know, it gets me right in the feels. I also really want to know more about, like, what is drawing her to this mountain. Is it just this sense of freedom that comes from seeing a mountain that large? Is this a spiritual journey? Is it just a personal journey? Who is she going to meet along the way? Because obviously she has a lot of perseverance. She's walking alone for miles to give birth to her child. I want to get into her head. I want to spend time with her. So, Woman Running the Mountains is I feel like it's gonna be a good one. And then the next one I have, and one I am going to be starting with, I'm very excited for it, is At the Edge of the Woods by Matsugo Ono, and this is translated by Juliet Winters Carpenter. The cover, they always making me hunt for these things. I mean, really. I feel like it should be just a little bit more obvious where the cover comes from. So, the cover is designed by Capo, and let me tell you more about this book. In an unnamed foreign country, a family of 3 is settling into a house at the edge of the woods. But something is off. A sound at first like coughing and then like laughter emanates from the nearby forest. Fantastical creatures, it is said, live out there in a castle where feudal lords reigned and resistance fighters fell. When the mother, fearing another miscarriage, returns to her family's home to give birth to a second child, father and son are left to their own devices in rural isolation. Haunted by the ever-present woods, they look on as the TV flashes with floods and processions of refugees. The boy brings a mysterious, half-naked old woman home, but before the father can make sense of her presence, she disappears. A mail carrier with gnashing teeth visits to deliver nothing but gossip of violence. A tree stump in the yard refuses to die, no matter how generously the poison is applied. An allegory for alienation and climate catastrophe unlike any other, At the Edge of the Woods is a psychological tale where myth and fantasy are not the dominion of childhood innocence, but the poisoned fruit born of the paranoia and violence of contemporary life. So, this book feels like I'm gonna love it. I couldn't tell you why it feels like I'm gonna love it. Perhaps it's these fantasy elements, perhaps it's I do love a book that explores isolation. Isolation is it for me. I love books that really explore how humans deal with distancing from the rest of society. So it's probably that. I love the fantastical elements and the contemporary elements, and I feel like it's going to be a great book for me. These are the 8 books that I have to share with you today, all translated, all I'm very excited about, which we'd hope so since I paid money for these. But also I am planning to do a translated reading vlog where I just read a bunch of the translated books that I own, and that is going to be happening in August. The only one of these that I don't plan to read during that time is going to be Blood Feast, and that's because I want to read it in September when I'm planning to do a vlog on short stories. I don't know if anyone liked my last vlog, but that's not my problem. I enjoyed making it, so I really wanted to make another one, and I really enjoy translated novels, so I'm excited to do another one like that. Why are you focusing on it? So those are the books I'm going to be reading. Hopefully some of these caught your attention, made you want to pick something up. If so, let me know which one, or if you have picked up any translated novels, either ones you've read or that you plan to read, let me know, because I am interested. And if you want to connect with me on any other platform, you can find me on Goodreads, Storygraph, Instagram, Twitter, and Readerly, all at Fiction&Flora. I am always happy to have discussions. I'm always happy to talk to you about any books or just hang out. Join me. Anyway, I hope to see you in the next video, and have a wonderful rest of your week.